What if one of mythology's most feared monsters was never a monster at all? Medusa's story begins not with a curse, but with a woman. Beautiful, mortal, and tragically human. Her life is a testament to the cruelty of the gods and the fragility of beauty in a world ruled by power. In ancient Greece, gods and mortals coexisted, but the gods were not benevolent. They were powerful, temperamental, and often cruel. Mortals were pawns in their divine games, and Medusa's life was no exception. Born to the sea deities, Phorcys and Ceto, she was the youngest of 3 sisters. Unlike her immortal, monstrous siblings, Medusa was fully human, radiant, captivating, and breathtakingly beautiful. Her golden hair shimmered like sunlight, her eyes sparkled with youth, and her presence was nothing short of mesmerizing. But in a world where beauty was both a gift and a curse, Medusa's allure became her burden. Women were valued only for their appearance, and beauty was a commodity to be controlled. Medusa, however, sought more than admiration. She chose a life of devotion, becoming a priestess of Athena, the goddess of wisdom. In Athena's temple, Medusa found purpose, a way to rise above the expectations of a patriarchal society. She took a vow of chastity, rejecting the advances of men and dedicating herself to a higher calling. Yet even devotion could not protect her. Medusa's beauty made her a target, and her vow of chastity only heightened men's passion. Poseidon, the god of the sea, became obsessed with her. He pursued her relentlessly, refusing to take no for an answer. In a horrific act of violation, he defiled her in the very temple she had devoted her life to. Medusa's world shattered. She had lost her safety, her agency, and the sanctuary she had trusted. But instead of justice, she found only punishment. Athena, enraged by the desecration of her temple, turned her wrath not on Poseidon, who was the true transgressor, but on Medusa. The goddess, in a display of divine cruelty, cursed Medusa, transforming her once beautiful form into a terrifying weapon of vengeance. Medusa's golden hair became a writhing mass of serpents. Her gaze, once captivating, turned deadly. Anyone who looked upon her would be turned to stone. Her face, once a vision of grace, became a mask of monstrosity. The woman who had been celebrated for her beauty was now feared, reviled, and cast out. Medusa's humanity was lost in a single moment. She became an outcast, exiled to a remote island where she lived in isolation. Her beauty, now twisted into something monstrous, became a symbol of fear. She was hunted, not for what she had done, but for what she had become, a victim of divine cruelty, transformed into a monster. In the solitude of her exile, the loneliness consumed her. The whispers of the world she had once known, the people who had adored her, the men who had pursued her, were now distant echoes. All she could hear now were the soft hisses of the snakes in her hair, the rhythmic crashing of the waves against the rocks, and the hollow sound of her own breath as she wandered the island alone. She had been cast aside, not only by the gods, but by the very world she had once been a part of. She was no longer a part of the society she had known. Instead, she was an outcast, a legend, a monster to be feared. And yet, beneath the monstrous exterior, there was still a woman who had once been loved, admired, and celebrated. Her humanity had not been lost, despite the curse. But the world was no longer able to see that. Medusa was forgotten, isolated, and abandoned to a life of silence. But was Medusa truly a monster? Or was she simply a victim of a curse that was never her fault? Her story reflects how society often vilifies victims, turning their pain into a spectacle. Medusa was not a monster because of her appearance, but because of the way she was treated. By the gods, by society, and by those who saw her beauty as something to be controlled. Her fate was sealed when Perseus, a young hero, was tasked with bringing back her head. Armed with divine tools, a reflective shield from Athena, winged sandals from Hermes, and a sharp blade, he ventured into her lair. When he found her, Medusa was sleeping, her once beautiful face now contorted with the power of the curse. Using the shield to avoid her gaze, Perseus beheaded her in a single, swift motion. In that moment, Medusa's suffering ended, but her legacy endured. From her blood sprang Pegasus, the winged horse, and Chrysa, a giant of great strength. Even in death, Medusa's power lived on. But even in the face of unimaginable suffering, Medusa's story evolved from tragedy to a powerful testament of resilience, defiance, and survival. Today, Medusa's story is no longer just a tale of fear. It's a story of transformation and of empowerment. She represents the painful journey from victimhood to strength, from the beauty that was once her greatest asset to the power that came from her suffering. Medusa's humanity, her pain, and her strength remind us that even the most terrifying legends have a human heart.